We all have a story to tell. Let's tell yours. Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast with your host, Jason. Come together and listen to journey stories and more from interesting people. Welcome your host, Jason.
Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast. Today I have Matt Cohen from Kidfresh. How are you doing today, Matt?
Very well, Jason. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for asking. Matt, what is Kidfresh?
Kidfresh is the #1 frozen food brand of better for you kids foods. So it's frozen, better for you for kids.
Okay. Have you always been interested in kids' food?
No, not really. I mean, it started really when I became a father, and as a dad, obviously I got exposed to all about kids and their world, including food.
An old friend once told me that kids like 4 food groups: pizza, chicken nuggets, hot dogs, and some other macaroni and cheese.
Yep,
That was it. That's like all they want to eat, right? So I'm sure that had some influence on Kidfresh, right?
it did very much so. Yeah.
Let's talk about your past. So, were you always into food service growing up at all?
Actually, not at all. I started my career in management consulting.
Okay.
I worked for Accenture for many years. I was born and raised in France and started my career in France, and then moved to the US. When I in 1995.
Okay. And you worked in that professional world all through how many years?
So Accenture 12 years. Then I joined an internet startup for a couple of years, and then again went back into management consulting in a smaller boutique firm, and then slowly but surely the entrepreneur's bug got into me.
How did the idea of Kidfresh come about?
So it's both a decision and a set of circumstances. So the decision for me was to change my career and go on my own, if you will, right? So the big jump. But I didn't know really where and what I wanted to focus my business on. And so a friend, my co-founder, Gilles Deloup, and friend, and we used to like have brainstorm sessions, every week, just to say, hey, what about this idea? What about that idea? And one morning, I got into the Lunchbox crisis at home, which is basically, I had my 2 young kids. They were running around like crazy. They didn't want to get dressed and so on. The fun stuff in the morning. I eventually got them, dressed up, ready to go. We go to school. And then, in the elevator, they tell me, hey, Dad, what about the lunchbox? I'm like, what? Damn, the lunchbox. And I'm like, okay. So obviously I had to deal with the situation and got them a sandwich or something. But, and that morning I was, meeting with my friend Gilles right thereafter. And I was like, this is insane. You need to do lunchboxes in the morning in this country. It doesn't make any sense. You have like to get the bread, the butter, the peanut butter and this and that and everything assembled. When you have 2 kids, you have to do 2 of them. Imagine if you have more kids. It's insane.
Right. Yep.
And just, in your background, as I grew up in France, we don't have lunchboxes in France. It doesn't exist. There's no lunchbox in France. Every school has a cafeteria. So there's no, we don't have that problem or issue. So it really struck us as something a little bit sort of bizarre at a time when you get your coffee at Starbucks, you get all your prepared food at Whole Foods or anywhere else, and you get your your smoothies everywhere. I mean, like everything is ready for you as a grown up. But for kids, somehow you still need to do the bread and peanut butter. That's how it started.
That's how the thought. And then how did you enable that? I mean, how did you take action? What did you do? That's a massive undertaking.
It's a massive undertaking, absolutely. Well, we took it slowly, step by step. My partner, co-founder, um, is formerly from a large CPG food company, so he had some background in that world, and we did some market studies. We interviewed pediatricians. We went to childhood obesity center. We talked to people
Okay.
to understand, is there a need there? What's the situation, right? Um, then we really narrow it down to sort of, what type of business we wanted to create. And then, quite frankly, we started, with a blank sheet of paper, building a business plan, you know.
Hmm.
And a business plan has, sort of a standard set of questions that you need to answer, right? What is
Right.
your business about? What is the size of the market? What is the need? Who is the consumer? And all the economics and financial aspects, and so on and so forth. So by doing that over time, talking to people, having some advisors help us, that's how we started. And once you have your business plan, then you identify, how much cash you need to start, and that's when the fun part starts.
What was your first product launch?
So Kidfresh has a story in two parts. There's the
Okay.
Kidfresh 1.0 and Kidfresh 2.0. Today we're in the 2.0, which is frozen foods, and we've been in frozen food for about 11 years now. But we first started Kidfresh as a store, as a retail store. The idea for us was to create a chain of, um, you know, kids' foods mini markets that would only
Interesting.
sell natural and organic kids' food products, as well as fun accessories and things like that, and would be sort of also little community centers where you could do birthday parties, you could host parties, you would have catering, and so on and so forth. We would have a kitchen also in those stores, and we so opened, we invented, created, designed, opened that store in Manhattan in 2007. So Kidfresh was a store. We had
Okay.
a kitchen, we had a chef, and so our first line of products, to go back to your initial question, was a line of lunchboxes, freshly prepared, that had a 3 to 4 day shelf life, with all natural and organic ingredients, and sort of working on the convenience and quality side of the product. And then, lo and behold, after 2.5 years of operating the store, uh, we clearly saw that the opportunity was elsewhere, because the idea was to create this one store, then to create a chain and franchise it, right?
Right.
Obviously, you start with a big vision.
Sure.
And so we were, envisioning hundreds of Kidfresh stores all over the nation. That still actually remains an idea that could come to fruition one day. But um, with the store, what happened is that it became, a place for potential customers. I'm not talking about consumers, moms and dads and families, but customers like Whole Foods and Target and other retailers that were looking for interesting ideas to come in and say, "Hey, we like this.
Right.
Can you start distributing this product to us?" And long story short, it became very obvious that the opportunity was huge on the wholesale side, and that the best way for us was to use frozen as the way to extend shelf life in order to meet, uh, you know, larger distribution needs.
Is that store still open, or did you wind up closing that store to focus on your frozen side?
The latter. We closed it down. We had to sort of reboot the business completely. We were a small team, small, 3, 4 people at the time, and it was all about focusing on, 2.0.
How large is 2.0 now?
So now we are about 12 people,
Okay.
um, plus a network of third-party partners, being in manufacturing. We don't own our plants, right?
Right.
Being in freight and shipping, being in sales and distribution, right? We work with third parties, but our core team is about 12 people.
And how many stores are you in North America?
About 11,000.
11,000.
Yes.
Incredible. Who's your number one retailer, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. Our number one retailer is Target.
Target. Okay.
Yep.
And do they carry the whole entire Kidfresh line?
They carry about 6 to 7 items.
Okay.
Typically we range from a minimum of 4 items, which is a shelf, to, some retailers have 12,
Okay.
right? So that's the typical range of distribution.
Does a company like Kidfresh have to pay for the shelf space on a store like Target?
So it depends on the retailer. Some
Okay.
retailers have what they called slotting fees, which is basically you have to pay a fee in order to get a slot on the shelf, right?
Okay.
But not all retailers do that.
Interesting.
And it actually, in our experience, the best performing retailers are the ones that don't do that.
Interesting.
Yes,
It's a very, very good data point.
it is.
How do you control the food quality? You mentioned that it's a third party manufacturer,
Mhm.
right? So I'm sure there's a lot of FDA approvals for that
Absolutely.
factory that go into it. So how do you work with that manufacturer to control the quality of Kidfresh ultimately?
So there's quality at the manufacturer's level, and there's us, right? So let's talk about the manufacturers first.
Please.
We partner only with the highest graded manufacturers in the nation. They make products for Whole Foods, for Costco, for Walmart, and so on and so forth. So we're talking about the top notch manufacturers, and they have embedded quality controls, very very um, strict and tight quality controls, from sourcing the ingredients to storing and verifying the ingredients to the whole manufacturing process, freezing process, storing process. All of that is tightly controlled at the plant. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are USDA plants, and they have USDA employees, from the federal government that have an office in the plant,
Wow.
right? So that's extremely strictly controlled. Then there's us as a company, what we do, right, to further enforce our own standards. Well, it starts with the detailed specifications of the product, right? So we work with our manufacturers and we provide them a very detailed spec sheet. This is what the product is made with. These are the ingredients that you need to source. These are the quantities, and so on and so forth, and all the way to the nutritionals, right?
Mhm.
And then, obviously we do some spot tests at our co-manufacturers. We attend some productions. We also, have third-party quality audits that are done. And last but not least, we actually try and taste every batch.
Interesting.
Either myself or my partner try every batch before it's released.
Wow. So this is going to be a multi-part question, Matt. Number one, who came up with what dishes you wanted to make? Right? How did that get decided? Because the possibilities obviously are nearly endless. So how did you come up with like chicken nuggets and how they're going to get prepared?
So, oddly enough, options are not endless with children.
Fair
And
enough.
that's the whole challenge, because children will not eat a product that is better for you, but that doesn't taste the way they like, right?
Understood.
We do that as grown-ups, right? I can take
Right.
I don't know, an energy bar that tastes like cardboard, but if I know it's better for me and it's
Okay.
convenient, I'll do it, right?
Right.
Kids won't do that. So we need to start with them in mind. And to your earlier point, they have 4 groups, 5 groups, 10 groups. I mean,
Right.
it's fairly limited, right?
Sure.
Range. So particularly as we start where kids are.
Okay.
I have to tell you that in the store, we used to be a little bit more adventurous and innovative, right? We tried different things because we had a kitchen and
Right.
kids coming in and out. But quickly, you get back to the basics, right? So yes, chicken nuggets, yes, mac and cheese, yes, pizzas, and so on and so forth. The question is how you make them so
Right.
that they are better, healthier, while still tasting the way kids like. And that's our core competency, if you will.
Sure. Do these third-party manufacturers make, for instance, like a Kidfresh pizza? Do they make 100,000 of them at a time, and then the next run is a different product, or are they running multiple products at the same time?
So again, these are fairly large manufacturers that they have multiple lines, right, that they can run at the same time. So they can make a run for Kidfresh and at the same time make a run for Costco, on the
Yeah.
line.
For someone that has never been to one of these factories and is in the manufacturing space, I find it incredible because you're not dealing with a part for a car, if you will, right? You're dealing with something that's going to go into someone's body. So the control is very, very critical,
Oh
right?
yeah,
It's the most critical part of that manufacturing process. And say mac and cheese, for instance, they're making that mac and cheese by the vats, right? They're huge amounts at one time.
correct. Yeah, 2 truckloads,
Right.
thing
I
like
mean,
that.
it's thousands of gallons of mac and cheese,
Correct.
basically, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And it dispenses into a container that obviously is moving down a line, and then at some point it gets some cellophane wrapped on it, goes into a box, goes into another box, and it's shipped off in a refrigerated container, right?
Correct.
That line, though, is that a dedicated Kidfresh line that makes all the Kidfresh products, or are there multiple lines for Kidfresh that are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
So not in our case. In our case, first of all, we have multiple partners because manufacturers are somewhat specialized in certain types of products, right? The pizza guy, is set up for pizzas, which is different than the chicken nugget guy that has, big fryers and things like that, right? So
Okay.
because we have a fairly broad assortment of product, we use different partners, right? So that's number one. But then even within a partner, you would have it really works by batch, and you basically have a production line typically for the whole day to do a batch, and sometimes you will do 3 or 4 batches, so you have 4 days of production, right, on a given product. But that's how it works, and it's very interesting because it really starts with a production line, which is sort of a whole set of equipment, but also people, right, that are
Right.
assigned to that production run. And everything is super cleaned and disinfected, and it's like you're like in a hospital, really. I mean, they're all wearing, you know, blouses, white blouses, mask, hair nets, gloves, special boots and shoes that are disinfected in a cleaning bath. I mean, it's really, really spectacular and very interesting to see.
I would actually argue it's probably cleaner than a hospital.
It's well possible. Yes,
Yeah.
it's well possible. When you go and visit, you have to take your watch, your rings,
Mm,
everything. It's really intense, and it's
sounds
good.
like it.
It's good.
And how do you taste the batch? Are you present, or do they just ship it to you and then you
They
try
ship.
it?
Yeah, we ship. They ship a sample.
They ship a sample.
Yeah,
And you've been testing the sample ever since inception?
correct.
That's pretty cool. What's your favorite product that you make?
Well, you cannot beat the chicken nugget and mac and cheese. I mean, that you know really. But our chicken meatballs are phenomenal. We're launching a new set of product this year with beef meatballs as well as a pasta with a pizza tomato sauce and
Mm.
mozzarella. Just insane. Just insane.
And who comes up with the recipe? How does that process work?
So we have a head of marketing and product development, right? And we have my partner who handles all the manufacturing and production. And basically, it's all about market study, what's out there, what sells well, what doesn't, what kids like. We look at you know uh, cafeteria menus, restaurant menus to see if there are new things that are coming to market. Um, and then we obviously have a product portfolio architecture with single serves, multi serves, value packs, breakfast items, novelty ice pops. So in each of these subcategories, then we identify a set of ideas, then we prototype them, and we have a panel of moms and kids that tell us yay or nay. As simple as that.
That's it. I would love to be on that panel. That sounds like a great job to me.
It is.
How do you deal with the nutritional aspect of it?
So we started Kidfresh even when we started the store by developing a nutritional charter. We partnered with a pediatric nutritionist from NYU here in New York, and we determined, what are the parameters, what are the nutritional parameters that we need to abide by for kids' food. So, starting with calories, protein, sugar, sodium, fiber, vitamins, so on and so forth. And that's sort of our Bible. So we build products with a nutritional charter as a foundation. And so when you build a product, you start with prototyping. You get obviously the consumers involved, but you also get the nutritional team involved. Our co-packers, they have labs that they partner with, and so you do different iteration of the product so that you balance, the different aspects of the nutrition profile until you get to something that matches your requirements. It's a lot of back and forth, trial and error. A
Sure.
little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, until you get to something that's balanced.
How long does the process take for the average product? Is it 6 months to
Yeah,
develop something, or
yeah, I would say about 6 months from the initial sort of ideation to having a product that we can start selling.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do parents really aim for? What is their primary goal other than feeding their child? What are they really looking for? What do you
So
find?
so it's important. Feeding the child is important because we could have the best product on the planet. If the kids don't eat it, we're dead, right?
Right.
So it starts with that. But then what they're looking for is nutrition, and in general, higher quality, right?
Sure.
And they're looking for convenience as well. And the way we're addressing nutrition, besides the sort of what I talked about earlier with the nutritional charter and so forth, is that we incorporate vegetables into our products. So our chicken nugget has hidden cauliflower in the blend. Our mac and cheese has hidden carrots in the cheese sauce, and so on and so forth, right? So our job is to take a product that kids like and push the envelope as far as we can. Um, so that's very important for parents. They feel good about giving Kid Fresh. They feel good about giving a chicken nugget mac and cheese because the
Right.
ingredients are good, the nutrition is good, and there's a little bit of veggies sneaked in.
Yep. Do you package them in a way where someone can have chicken nuggets and mac and cheese at the same time?
Not yet. That's something that we've been contemplating, like doing dual compartment,
Yeah.
trays. For now, what we offer is choice and option to customize, because when you have two or three kids, obviously they're not going to eat the same thing, right?
Right. Yep.
So you
Smart.
customize, you mix and match, if you will.
Understood. Do you struggle with any supply chain issues in this time?
Yeah, right now it's challenging for everybody, right?
Mhm.
From labor to manufacturing to freight, and even the retailers are struggling just to put products on shelves. I mean, sometimes they have products in the back room, but that are not being put on shelves due to labor issues. So it's a much, it's a general market issue, right?
Right.
As far as we're concerned, we've put a number of measures in place to really weather the storm, particularly working very closely with our manufacturing partners, having plans, 3, 6, 9 months ahead, building some safety stocks also so that we can, weather the storm here again. And then conversely, on the other end of the spectrum, working very closely with our freight and warehousing partners just to make sure that when we receive an order, it is picked, packed, and shipped on time.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't mean that the receiving end, which is you know, a distributor warehouse or a retailer warehouse, will even be able to receive it, right?
Right.
Let
Right.
alone put it on shelves. But at least within what we can control, we've put a number of measures in place. And I have to say the team's done an extraordinary job, and so far, so good.
So you're forecasting 6 to 9 months out.
Oh, yeah.
And how long is the shelf life of the average product?
About 16 to 18 months.
Okay, so it's safe on that side.
Yeah, it's very safe. But, forecasting 9 months out, meaning it means telling our partner, hey, in 9 months, we need a a
Yep.
2-day run on chicken nugget. Put it on the calendar, and but it's going to be made at that point only, and the clock will stop then for 18 months, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be scary. Did the beginning of COVID catch you off guard because sales went, I would imagine sales increased by a ton, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it obviously it got the whole world off guard, but
Right.
as we are concerned in frozen foods and in kids frozen foods in particular, with kids at home, overnight nationwide, shelves got emptied like this.
Right.
So then retailers placed, new orders. We shipped them, but then our inventory got emptied, right? So we were like struggling to work with manufacturers to say, hey, we need more product, and so on and so forth. So it was an interesting time for sure, but we saw, huge uptick. At least I would say in April last year.
Okay. And have you recovered from that depletion
Yes,
of stock? You
yes,
have.
absolutely, yeah.
So getting product to the retailers is not a problem as long as they can get it on the shelves.
I would say, yeah. I mean, we always have, a week here, a week there where we are
Right.
short of a product, but overall, yes, we have.
Can listeners purchase online anywhere?
So they can purchase online at our retailers' website. So Target.com, Walmart.com, on Amazon, at Whole Foods, HEB.com, Kroger.com, you know, ShopRite. Every retailer has their own website, Publix, and you just buy it there.
Okay, great. Matt, is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have or that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I would say, if the audience is, people that are thinking about entrepreneurship, um, I would tell them, it's a crazy thing to do. So probably if they're thinking about it, they must be crazy, which is fine in my eyes. And that they shouldn't be afraid. They should dare jump and be able to adapt and pivot the business as circumstances change. Like we've done here. We started with a store and we're in frozen now. That's okay. It's important. Once you jump, you know feel feel the environment that you're in, adapt, adjust, and it's well worth the ride.
It's a wonderful message, Matt. Thank you so much for joining. I do appreciate it, and best of luck to Kidfresh.
Thank you.
Everyone, go look at kidfresh.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Find us on YouTube and Facebook at The Intellectual People Podcast and online at theintellectualpeoplepodcast.com. Check back for exciting new episodes.